Hey everyone, it's Andrea, and welcome to Scenes Out of Place. If you don't know, I have a short story book called Scenes Out of Place, where I have multiple stories that feature zombies, dragons, and surviving in space. And there are a couple more ideas that might fit into those worlds, but don't necessarily need a whole new book. So I'm bringing them to you in an audio edition. So sit back and enjoy some of the stories that didn't make it to the final edition, but still need to exist. I'm debating what to say to my grandmother. I don't even know how to broach this topic with her. When I tell you my mind is rocked by the revelation from Henderson Village, I mean rocked. But the mystery isn't solved, and I need answers. 2 days after my visit, I think I was given the last piece of the puzzle. Clara called me. Not texted, not anything else. She called me. And the funny thing is I don't remember giving her my number. But I think I'm glad that I still picked up. She told me there's one more person, someone who wants to talk to me, that she has the answers that I'm looking for. So, of course, I've asked Clara, why are you just telling me about her now? Why not when I was out there last time when you rocked my world? Clara told me that the woman doesn't like to talk to outsiders, but she wanted to talk to me. So I drove back to Henderson Village again. At this point, I think I should start getting some type of rewards for all the miles I'm putting on my car and spending money on gas to get there. But I got back into town, met Clara at the cafe, and this time she drove me out to a small house near the edge of town. The kind that looked like it was built when the town was first founded, and not many updates had happened since then. When we got out of the car and started walking up to the front door, an older woman opened it before we even knocked. She didn't introduce herself, and Clara told me that she wouldn't. So, for this episode, I'm going to call her Denise. Denise didn't invite us in right away. Nope, she just stared at me for a very long time. Like she was trying to recognize my face or gaze deep into my soul. I don't know. But then finally she spoke and said that I was the one asking about Blue Crab Cove, to which I nodded and told her I was. She had to know that was the reason Claire was bringing me out here. And then she said, "You're the one whose family got out." So I asked, "What did you mean by that? Got out?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped back and held the door open and told us to enter. She led us into her living room, and on the coffee table, there were a couple of journals on the table. They were old, like they had been used and handled for dozens of years, more years than just Denise's. She let us to sit, and Denise picked up one of the journals and ran her hand over the front. She told me that her great grandmother wrote it, that her great grandmother was there, that last week. She wasn't one of the ones who left early like my grandmother's family did. That she was there and awake when what happened to Blue Crab Cove happened. So I asked her, what happened? She didn't tell me right away. Instead, she opened the journal and started reading. According to the journal, my grandmother's family was one of the only ones visiting relatives inland that week. And when they left during the time of the seasonal queen festival. And that year, the seasonal queen did something no other queen had did in previous times. She named someone from the founding family, a young woman. And according to Denise's great grandmother, it wasn't just anyone, it was the only daughter from the founding line. The founding family was essentially town royalty in their own right, whether or not anyone called them that. It was sort of an unwritten rule that you don't choose anyone from the founding family, but the queen said she had to, that she was being pulled to call this person to her court. But the founding family said no. Not quietly, not in the ways people usually said no, not like John Henderson's family where they just tried to pack up and leave. No, they didn't try and leave ahead of time. They just refused. In that moment, publicly, they stood between their daughter and the water. They believed they were above the deal because their family was the one who created the deal. They shouldn't be bound by it. So instead of handing over their daughter, they put someone else in her place. And that sealed the town's fate. People were furious. Generation after generation, other families had given up one of their own. And now, when it was finally the founder's turn, they couldn't do the same. They didn't want to pay the debt that they had asked people of their town to. Apparently, the founders tried to say this was their only daughter, their only child, that they could not have any more, and to sacrifice her would mean the end of their line. Something they just weren't willing to risk. But the thing is, you cannot substitute one person for another. The ocean chooses the queen, and essentially, they choose the court. Refusing to hand over their family after everyone else had honored the same arrangement for generations, whether they were happy or sad about it, was a disrespect that the ocean just could not forgive. But the founders didn't care. So instead of their daughter, they made the seasonal queen go in her place. The ocean was not happy. That same night, according to the journal, the water rose further than it ever had before. It wasn't a storm. It wasn't high tide. Denise's great-grandmother's words were, "The water rose like it was reaching, not like it was being pulled by the moon." And by morning, there was no town, no houses, no docks, no boats, no people. Nothing left behind except smooth sand. The cove was as empty as it was before anything had ever been built there. So I asked, how did her great grandmother survive? And Denise told me that she was woken up and she saw the water and she ran. She ran as fast as she could towards high ground, and the water never stopped. The journal described the sounds that Denise's great grandmother heard of people crying out, the animals barking, the houses being ripped apart by the ocean and being dragged back to where they came from. She stood there all night watching the rest of the town the town that she grew up in, be swept out to sea. And so she spent the rest of her life inland and writing down everything that she could remember. Because she said if she didn't, would she convince herself that it was all a dream? Was it all a fake, a memory, something that didn't happen? Her great-grandmother made it to Henderson Village, but kept to herself what truly happened to the town, just letting them know that they could no longer hurt anyone ever again. Blue Crab Cove was taken back. What was built over the course of generations was taken back by the sea in just one night because they broke a promise. They broke their oath. So I had to ask Denise the same question I have been asking everyone because there's a part of me that still just cannot accept the answer. Taken back by what? And she looked at me the same way Clara had, like she pitied me for needing to ask. You already know, she said. You've known since Clara told you the first part. We just don't like saying it that plainly, and neither did our grandparents. It doesn't feel safe, not when we still need the sea for other things. But she pointed to a word in the journal, not saying it out loud, but allowing me to read it. Mermaids. Mermaids took back the town. I left Denise's house with more than I came with, and somehow feeling like I understood so much less. Here's what I now know. My grandmother's town was built on an arrangement she never knew existed, kept by people she loved, and broken by one family's refusal to hand over their daughter. And just like that, there were no second chances. The town was completely, entirely erased, without a single piece of evidence left behind, in one night. I still don't know what to do with that. I still don't know if I'm going to tell my grandmother all of it, some of it, maybe none of it. I don't know if a woman in her 90s needs to know that her hometown didn't just vanish, it was taken on purpose because of a decision one family made to save their daughter. And that decision took their own daughter's life and cost everyone else's theirs. That her mother was complicit in taking others' lives. What a family legacy. This isn't the family legacy I think she wanted for us. This isn't the family legacy she wanted. Her legacy was the stories, the happy memories, not this cruelty. And now I have to wonder, by keeping this from her, am I adding another layer of cruelty? But I felt in my bones that there was one more thing I needed to do before I had to drive home. I went to where Blue Crab Cove used to be. I found the inlet using my grandmother's description and checking out some old maps Denise had and following their general directions. Where the cove is, where the town used to stand, is now just a shoreline of rocks and sand and water that looks just like every other stretch of Maryland coast, except for the fact that it sits tucked back out of sight, exactly the way my grandmother said it would be. If you didn't know it was there, you would never find it. So I sat there on the beach, staring out at the water, trying to figure out my next move. What am I supposed to do? And then something surfaced. I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. I'm not going to try and dress it up. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. And you can believe me or you cannot believe me. I honestly don't think I would believe me if I was hearing this story. Something came out of the water. Something. Not a fish, not a seal, not any other sea creature that I can name. It was something with a tail that had a humanoid face. There looked to be scales on their skin. Their eyes were bright, almost alluring. They were beautiful in a monstrous way, if that makes sense. I hope that's not rude. And I was terrified. I'll be completely honest about that. I was terrified. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped my phone in the sand, and I wasn't even brave enough to take my eyes off of the mermaid, for lack of a better word, to try and fish it out of the sand. I didn't know what it was doing looking at me. Was it a mistake to come sit on the sand in this cove? Was I the first person to do it? Did they have someone standing sentry all the time? Did I break a rule? Were they going to drag me into the ocean and I would never be able to tell my family what happened? But somehow I was able to calm my thoughts and I realized this was my only chance. So I asked it a question. I asked her a question. I asked her if it was true. And she looked at me for a long time, long enough for me to wonder if I was starting to lose my mind, long enough to think, was this the final straw that broke the camel's back? And my brain decided to just melt. But then she answered me, and her voice was beautiful. I understood in that moment why some people call them sirens, because there was a melody to it so pleasing that there was a small part of me that just wanted to follow her straight into the ocean. Like she was going to take care of me and everything was going to be fine if I followed her. But then she answered. She told me that deals have consequences, that you must always honor your word, that when her ancestors agreed to make the waters bountiful for the founders, it was under the condition that they will return the court to them. Each year there would be a returning, and they would honor whoever was chosen. So that meant the seasonal queen really was a festival of sacrificing people. So then I asked her, what did that mean? What happened to them? Did those who were returned, did they die? Did they become mermaids? Did they, or possibly other mermaids, eat them? And she stared at me again for a long time, and I could see her tail swishing back and forth in the shallow water. And she told me it wasn't for me to know, for anyone on land to know. But she did say I could rest easy in the fact that whatever happened, it wasn't painful. That whatever happened to the ones who have returned was peaceful, because they took no pleasure in harming the returns. And I have no idea what that means. But before I could ask anything else, she told me I was fortunate, that my family had never been the ones who tried to break the arrangement, that my family believed, and that they are sorry that my family never got a chance to say goodbye to any of it. So then I asked about the other families, the ones who still believed, who were angry at the founders. Why were they taken too? And the mermaid said it was because they hadn't stopped the founders. They could have overpowered them and threw their daughter to the sea. But their silence made them complicit, that they allowed the seasonal queen to be sacrificed in the place of her court member. And staying quiet when the rules were being broken is the same as breaking them yourself. They dishonored the arrangement just the same, whether they agreed with it or not. So they all had to be punished, so that future generations would learn to not stay silent. And then she asked me something I wasn't ready for. Did I want to start the town over? Have another chance at Blue Crab Cove? Did I want to grow up in the town my grandmother grew up in? And I wish I could tell you I said no right away, but I have to be honest, and I thought about it. If that town came back, I could bring my family here and I could show them that grandma wasn't crazy, that she told us the truth the entire time, that the stories they made fun of her for were based in truth and reality. But the bargain would be the same. Every year, we would have to give someone back to the sea. And while my great grandmother might have made her peace with it, I don't think I could. So I told her no. And she nodded, accepting my answer. And just like that, she was gone. When I finally fished out my phone from the sand, it was too late to take a photo, and I wasn't recording. So the only proof I have is my word, my memory. And because I know exactly how this sounds, I don't expect you all to believe me. Because how crazy is it to say that I was speaking to a mermaid, to a sea creature, and that they are real, that they exist alongside us in the water? I don't know if I care if you believe me or not. I care that my grandmother now can know the truth. Though there is a part of me that wonders if she knew that the ocean took it back all along, just didn't know why. If she was too afraid to tell me the true cost of being in Blue Crab Cove. I don't know if anyone's going to believe me, but I know what I saw and I know what I heard. And I think for the first time since I started this mystery, I finally understand why my grandmother never needed anyone else to believe her. Some truths, I think, you just have to be willing to carry alone. So I can say I solved the mystery. I know what happened to the town. I know where it is now. It's not the ending I wanted. It's not the truth I wanted. But sometimes you don't get to pick the endings to your stories. Sometimes you have to face what the truth is. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this journey to the truth of Blue Crab Cove. Just remember, if anyone ever offers you a chance to start your own town, maybe read the fine print. Maybe you shouldn't agree. Until next time, Blue Crab Cove is watching. Hey guys, it's Andrea. And thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of Scenes Out of Place Audio Edition. I hope you're enjoying how the mystery is unfolding. A special shout out to my author support and above members on my Patreon. Their continued support helps me create more episodes like this. And a quick special thank you to Call Me Miss Royalty for your continued support. If you would like to help me bring more of these episodes to life, consider joining my Patreon, where you'll get behind-the-scenes content, early access to new episodes, and other exclusive rewards. Until next time, maybe keep your eyes on the horizon, or the shore, because Blue Crab Cove is out there.